Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about drama. Well, not really drama, just people complaining, which is standard for any TCG, to be honest. And that complaining is about a very specific card that, if you are an avid player of the game, you probably already know what it is. I mean, the thumbnail literally gives it away. That is Dusknoir from Shrouded Fable. This card is, I wouldn't say polarizing, it's just a very powerful card that a lot of people are very split on. A lot of people absolutely despise it and have quit the game because of it. They absolutely hate it, think it's one of the worst cards ever designed, should have never been printed, and then there's other people who actually like it. So for those of you who don't know, Dusknoir is a 160 stage 2 psychic type Pokemon. The only thing that we need to talk about is the ability. The attack literally doesn't mean anything. The ability Cursed Blast says once during your turn you can put 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, so 130 damage, but if you use the ability this Pokemon is knocked out. This card has been seen play in a lot of decks. I'm on Limitless right now and the list just keeps going. There is probably over like 60, 70 decks here from all the way back when the card first came out, which was Shrouded Fable. The first tournament that it became legal for was the World Championship, and it saw a lot of play at the World Championship, and it saw a lot of play at the next regional after, which was Baltimore. It saw a lot of play at Dortmund and Joinville, I think that's how you pronounce it. But the card is very, very strong, and for a lot of people it's a make or break type of card. So what exactly makes this card so strong? Well, it's a stage 2, so like you're probably thinking, oh, it takes a while to get going. You can just rare candy into it, but the ability to just put 130 damage on something on like your second turn if you have rare candy Dusknoir is very strong, considering that you haven't even used your attack yet. Now a lot of people may be thinking, oh, but it knocks itself out, but if you just use it on like one Pokemon on the bench that has 130 HP or less, you're basically like trading a prize. And even if you're not, you could put it on a high HP like EX Pokemon, something that you might not be able to one-hit KO. You give your opponent a prize card because it's considered knocked out, so they do take a prize card, which then opens up the possibility to use other cards since you're now behind on prizes. For example, Counter Capture, you can now use that because your opponent has 5 prize cards and you have 6, meaning that you can then gust up that Pokemon that you put the damage on and possibly knock it out. Another thing to note is that the card's ability isn't a hard once per turn. You have some abilities where it's like you can only use the name of this ability like once and that's it. I believe there are a couple of Pokemon that have that type of stipulation, but it's very few and far between. I think Pidgeot has that clause. Yeah, Pidgeot says you can't use more than one quick search ability each turn, whereas Dusknoir just says once during your turn you can do this. It's not limited to one Dusknoir or one of that ability name, meaning that if you have multiple Dusknoirs, you can use all of them, which is a lot of the reason why people find this card so polarizing and so annoying, is that it's not once per turn. So if you have 2 Duskulls and you both evolve them into Dusknoir, you can use both of them and like take 2 prizes out of nowhere, or possibly, you know, just get rid of stuff on your opponent's bench that will prevent them from basically playing the game almost. Especially if you're against an evolution deck, you could get rid of like a Pidgey, you could get rid of your opponent's Duskull, you could get rid of a Charmander, you could get rid of a Dreepy. It's just that strong. And also the synergy it has with other combat cards. I've mentioned Counter Capture obviously, but in our most recent set we've seen Briar. Briar says that if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, if your Terra Pokemon knocks out your opponent's active Pokemon, you take an additional prize card. So let's say your opponent's playing around Briar, they don't want to put themselves down to 2 prize cards, they're instead on like 3 prize cards. You could just use Dusknoir, force them to take a prize, they're now on 2, you can use Briar, which a lot of people are saying leans the game way more in your favour if you're able to pull it off. But a lot of people are saying that this is one of the reasons why they like Dusknoir, as it encourages this sort of skillful type of gameplay. A lot of people are also saying it kind of like gatekeeps single prize decks, because if we look at like what's basically good in the meta, it's all big high HP evolution Pokemon: Raging Bolt, Charizard, Terrapagos, Regidrago, Lugia, you know, Dragapult, stuff like that, Palkia, Gardevoir, there's rarely any single prize decks. Snorlax is up there, but like Snorlax is just like really all around good Pokemon. And it's the fact that if you can just rare candy into a Dusknoir, you can just take care of anything that's in your opponent's way. There are also the reasons that people like it. Again, it like encourages skillful gameplay where you can use it to like put some damage on a big HP Pokemon and then like bring it up and knock it out and sort of like maneuver around your opponent's board, if you know what I mean. Personally, in my opinion, I both like it and I dislike it. I like it when I use it and I don't like it when my opponent uses it. The card is very annoying, and in combination with other cards such as, you know, Rescue Stretcher, so you can just get back the Dusknoir and then rare candy into it again. Also Thornton, which says that you can basically put a Pokemon from your discard in the place of another Pokemon, and it remembers like everything. It basically remembers the amount of turns that have been played, all that kind of stuff. So you can just use Thornton, bring back a Duskull, and immediately rare candy it into a Dusknoir. It's a card that is both good in terms of its design and both bad in terms of its design. I think the main reason as to why people hate it is again the fact that it's not once per ability name, so that means you can just use multiples throughout your turn. But I also think it's a good card in that it helps you hit damage numbers that you wouldn't normally hit. Granted, you do have the trade-off of giving your opponent a prize card, but that also means you can play some recovery cards, some, you know, counter cards. You can play Counter Catcher and Briar and all that kind of stuff, and it just helps you deal with high HP Pokemon a lot easier, because most of the time you're going to be taking 2 attacks to knock out something like that, especially the stage 2 EXs, whereas now you can just Cursed Blast and then just use your normal attack. Obviously, the card isn't going to be going anywhere. I don't think Pokemon runs like a ban list. I think it's only for the expanded format, and this card is not going to be going for another 2 years. It's part of the H series of cards, and the next series of cards to go for our next rotation is F, then it'll be G, and then in 2020, like 2027 2027 is when this card will be rotating, so it's going to be legal for a while, and sadly people are just going to have to deal with it, because this card is probably going to see play all the way up until its rotation, because it's just that good. Unless they decide to, you know, not reprint Rare Candy, because Rare Candy will go out of rotation before Dusknoir if it doesn't get a reprint. So that could happen, where they just don't reprint Rare Candy and it goes out of rotation, and now you have to play Dusclops, which some decks are playing. Basically does the same thing, but I think it only does 50 damage instead, which is still like a decent amount if it helps you hit a knockout. But yeah, I just thought I'd make a video about this card because I saw like this big thread that someone made basically just complaining about the card, and then everyone was memeing on it, being like, you know, here's how you play around it, and they post the picture of an effect veiler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Just negate the effect. Just as simple as that, just you know, just play around it. It also does force people into like a sudden death type of thing, because obviously it knocks itself out, and then if you knock something out you take a prize. So if you both take your last prize, you go into a sudden death. I'm not really sure how sudden death works. I think you basically put the top card of your deck as a prize, and the first person to take it wins. And you can basically just Dusclops infinitely for infinite like sudden deaths, I guess. That's kind of annoying, but I don't really see it being that bad. I think what Dusknoir is gonna make people, or make creatures start doing, is increasing the HP threshold of like stage 2 basic Pokemon, like non-EX Pokemon, because a lot of them do have 130 HP, which is, you know, free reign for Dusknoir. Dusknoir has 160, so yeah, that could be a thing. They might start introducing, you know, a bench blocker that stops abilities, because at the moment we have, you know, Manaphy, Jirachi and Grabska, which only stop attacks, they don't stop abilities. So that could be something that they introduce in a future set to help counteract Dusknoir. I can't think of anything else much to say about this card, to be honest. I think I've covered everything I want to talk about. But yeah, this card is very strong, and it isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to see play probably all the way up until its rotation, which isn't going to be for like 2 years. So it's just something we're going to have to deal with for the time being.
If you can't beat them, Join them.
But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about Dusknoir. Do you think it was a bad decision to print? Do you think it was a good card? Do you like that it encourages these sort of like roundabout, like skillful in big quotation marks type of plays? Or do you just hate it because you feel it's just a very unfair card? The fact that you can use multiple in a single turn, that kind of thing. I think that's the main reason why people don't like it, is that you can use multiple in a single turn. If it was one, like a hard once per turn ability use like Pidgeot is, I feel it would have been much more balanced. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about Dusknoir, and I shall see you all in the next video, whatever that may be. Also, make sure to keep up to date on my community page. That's where I post updates about what I'm working on, or just like stuff that's going on, if I'm like working on videos or if I'm not working on videos because I'm sick, because I've been sick the past week. I'm not sure if you can still hear it in my voice. I'm still recovering a little bit. But yeah, thank you all for watching and take care.